Friends, what I'm about to reveal will shake your understanding of current events. The Baltic region has become a ticking time bomb, and the countdown has already begun. Just hours ago, intelligence sources confirmed NATO isn't just preparing, they're rehearsing. Military convoys are moving under the cover of darkness. Strategic assets are being quietly positioned. But here's what should really concern you. They're doing this right on Russia's doorstep. Think this is just another military exercise? Think again. The pattern reveals something far more disturbing. Over 169,000 Russian speakers in Latvia alone are being systematically stripped of their basic rights. No voting rights, no government jobs, even becoming a lawyer is forbidden if you're Russian. But here's the twist that nobody's talking about. Every March 16th, Latvia openly celebrates SS Legion veterans. Yes, you heard that right. Nazi collaborators are being honored while Russian history is being erased. And Western money is pouring in to support this agenda. $25,000 just for anti-Russian protests through Belgian fronts. Connect the dots. Massive military buildups, systematic discrimination, and historical revisionism. This isn't random. This is preparation. But preparation for what? The real question we should be asking is this discriminatory pressure on Russian speakers deliberately designed to create a flashpoint? A pretext? Because if you look at the military infrastructure being quietly constructed along the border, let me show you something that will make it all clear. NATO's own documents reveal a strategic plan that goes far beyond defensive measures. But before I expose that, you need to understand the historical context that makes this situation so explosive. Write in the comments if you're seeing unusual military movements in your region. The pattern we're tracking suggests something big is coming, and your observations could be crucial pieces of this puzzle. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal next explains why Western media is desperately trying to keep this story under wraps. But let's step back and look at the bigger picture that's emerging. The systematic assault on historical memory isn't isolated. It's part of a coordinated campaign. Russian Foreign Ministry documents have exposed over 300 cases of Nazi glorification across the Baltic states, with Latvia leading this disturbing trend. What we're witnessing is unprecedented. For the first time in history, dozens of European politicians, including a sitting prime minister, are being placed on international wanted lists. More than 80 individuals will face consequences for their role in dismantling Soviet monuments and insulting the memory of those who fell defeating fascism. The FSB has declassified shocking archival documents revealing the brutalities committed by Latvian Nazi collaborators during the occupation. These records prove conclusively what many suspected. Baltic authorities have spent 30 years deliberately reconstructing their national heroes from Hitler's accomplices. But this historical revisionism is just one piece of a larger puzzle. The discrimination against Russian-speaking populations has reached critical levels. Schools are being stripped of Russian language programs, while any cultural connection to Russia is branded a national security threat. The recent expulsion of 80-year-old Boris Katkov from Latvia perfectly illustrates this ruthless policy. This isn't about security, it's about erasing Russian presence and influence from the region entirely. Meanwhile, NATO continues its military buildup along Russia's borders. The alliance is transforming the Baltic region into a powder keg, with particular focus on the strategic Suwalki corridor. But here's what should really worry you. This isn't just about military positioning. These moves are part of a larger strategy to fundamentally alter the balance of power in Europe. For those watching from the Baltics, we need your perspective. How are these changes affecting your daily lives? Share your experiences in the comments. Because what's happening next could reshape the entire European security architecture, and not everyone is prepared for the consequences. Good day to our thoughtful viewers. Today we're diving deep into a concerning situation unfolding in the Baltic states, where anti-Russian sentiment is taking increasingly aggressive forms. Let's analyze a telling case that reveals the true nature of these policies. Consider the story of 80-year-old Boris Katkov, who headed an association for cooperation with Russia. He was expelled from the country where his family still resides, allegedly due to pro-Kremlin ties. While he'll receive housing in Kaliningrad, the message is clear. This is systematic intimidation of Russian speakers. The pattern becomes even clearer when we look at the RT journalist who received a Russian passport after facing persecution. According to his testimony, pressure on the Russian-speaking community intensified dramatically since the beginning of the special military operation. Cultural and political life has been effectively paralyzed. The case of Stanislav Buchain, who sought asylum in Russia due to espionage accusations, adds another layer to this troubling picture. Former MEP Tatiana Zhdanok's situation is equally concerning. She faces allegations of collaboration with Russian intelligence based on alleged correspondence. Particularly alarming is the situation surrounding the presidential elections. Latvian authorities threatened to scrutinize everyone who came to polling stations, effectively equating voting with supporting the special operation. As Dmitry Medvedev accurately noted, the Baltic states have transformed their statehood into a weapon against Russia. His recent statement about Lenin founding Estonia and Latvia serves as a historical reminder. Unlike ancient European states, these territories gained independence relatively recently. The systematic pressure on Russian speakers in the Baltics is clearly part of a larger geopolitical game targeting Russia. History shows that those who sow the wind of Russophobia eventually reap the whirlwind of public anger. What do you think about these developments in the Baltic states? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm particularly interested in your perspective on where this situation might lead. Today we're examining concerning trends in the Baltic region and their potential implications for Russia. Maria Zakharova recently presented serious allegations against Latvia regarding systematic discrimination of Russian-speaking populations. This discrimination manifests in several critical ways. The ban on Russian-language education, persecution of World War II veterans, and the demolition of monuments to those who liberated Europe from fascism. Russia plans to file a lawsuit with the UN International Court, while Latvia refuses dialogue, relying on Western institutional support. The European Court of Human Rights has already ruled in Latvia's favor, justifying discriminatory measures as consequences of what they term Soviet occupation. Meanwhile, the Baltic states are actively preparing for potential military conflict. NATO is conducting large-scale exercises in the region. May saw the Astro-LC 2024 air defense maneuvers involving over 50 aircraft and 5,000 military personnel from the US, Britain, and Baltic countries. The largest such exercises in 5 years, practicing scenarios against hypothetical aggression. Particularly noteworthy is the construction of the Baltic Defense Line along borders with Russia and Belarus. Concrete pyramids, anti-tank barriers, and other fortifications are being erected. Local authorities claim this line should stop or slow Russian troop advancement. Over 500 million euros from Baltic and NATO budgets have been allocated for this purpose. The situation mirrors events that preceded the special military operation in the politically turbulent area. We see the same accusations of Russophobia, historical revisionism, and oppression of Russian-speaking populations. Experts note growing regional tensions and call for dialogue. This defensive buildup, combined with systematic discrimination against Russian speakers, creates a potentially explosive situation. The parallels with previous conflicts are impossible to ignore, especially given NATO's increasing military presence in the region. What do you think about these developments? Are we seeing history repeat itself? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm particularly interested in your perspective on where this situation might lead. The Baltic region has become a concerning flashpoint of military tensions. Eastern European countries, from Norway to Poland, are developing an ambitious drone surveillance wall along the Russian border. However, this system shows clear vulnerabilities to Russian electronic warfare capabilities, as evidenced by recent GPS disruptions across Poland and the Baltic states, coinciding with the operational range of Russian systems in Kaliningrad. Military preparations in the Baltic states are intensifying at an alarming rate. Latvia's decision to reinstate conscription and Lithuania's preparation to host a 5,000-strong German brigade signals a significant shift in regional military posture. NATO aircraft now maintain round-the-clock patrols over the Baltic Sea, marking an unprecedented level of military activity. What's particularly troubling is the openness with which Western think tanks discuss potential war scenarios. Military analyst Richard Hooker has detailed plans for a US-Polish occupation of Kaliningrad, While German media recently published reports about NATO's alleged plans to strike St. Petersburg, these aren't just academic exercises, they represent a dangerous shift in strategic thinking. The intelligence landscape is equally concerning. Latvia's State Security Service warns about increased Russian intelligence activities, while Russia counters with accusations of Latvian recruitment attempts at border crossings. The recent tragedy at Crocus City Hall and Latvia's notable silence speaks volumes about deteriorating diplomatic relations. This military buildup creates a precarious situation. NATO's expanding presence along Russian borders, combined with intensified intelligence operations and information warfare, sets the stage for potential escalation. The transformation of the Baltic region into a military staging ground threatens the delicate balance of European security. Most concerning is how these developments mirror historical patterns of conflict escalation. The combination of military preparation, propaganda warfare, and diplomatic tension creates a perfect storm of instability. These aren't isolated incidents, but pieces of a larger strategic puzzle. What do you think about the current situation in the Baltics? Leave your point of view in the comments. I believe my viewers are thoughtful and smart, and I want to hear your analysis. The security situation in Latvia continues to intensify, revealing deeply concerning trends. 8 criminal cases on espionage charges have been initiated, with one particularly striking example: taxi driver Sergei Sidorov receiving a 7-year prison sentence. According to investigators, he photographed NATO military installations for the Baltic Anti-Fascists organization, allegedly linked to Russian intelligence services. Latvia is simultaneously ramping up drone production for the conflict zone between Russia and the West. This development has Moscow seriously worried, especially given calls to use Western weapons for strikes against Russian territory. The cybersecurity landscape is equally troubling. Since 2022, incidents have surged by 40%, while attacks on critical infrastructure have quadrupled. In the second quarter, hacking attempts reached a 2-year high, raising red flags among information security experts. Russia's foreign ministry has warned of painful countermeasures in response to Latvia's hostile actions, with spokesperson Maria Zakharova ominously referring to the unfortunate fate of historical predecessors of current Latvian politicians. The Suwalki corridor presents a particular concern. This 100-kilometer strip between Poland and Lithuania, connecting Kaliningrad region with Belarus, has become a focal point of tension. Military analysts identify it as a potential flashpoint and possible future conflict zone. Former U.S. Army Europe Commander Ben Hodges suggests that during any escalation, this corridor could become a key target for isolating Baltic states from the rest of Europe. These developments are unfolding against the backdrop of increasing military preparations throughout the region. The strategic significance of the Suwalki corridor cannot be overstated. It represents both a vital link and a potential vulnerability in the complex geopolitical landscape of Eastern Europe. Experts warn that this scenario could trigger a major international crisis, potentially drawing in multiple powers and reshaping regional security architecture. The situation demands careful monitoring and measured analysis. What do you think about the current developments in Latvia and the Baltic region? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective helps us understand how these events are viewed by our community. Recent military analysis reveals concerning developments in the Baltic region. Computer simulations from the RAND Corporation show Russian forces could potentially secure control of the Baltic states in just 60 hours, a timeline that's sending shockwaves through Western defense circles. The critical Suwalki corridor, strategically positioned between Belarus and Kaliningrad, has become a focal point of tension. Russian Defense Committee Chairman Andrei Kartapolov hasn't minced words about this corridor's significance to Russian interests. Western intelligence suggests possible military movements by 2025, while American conflict analysts project a potentially larger-scale operation by 2027, potentially involving synchronized advances from both Belarus and Kaliningrad. NATO's Article 5 presents its own complications. While it promises collective defense, the deliberately flexible wording allows member states to choose their response type, creating dangerous ambiguity in crisis situations. The Baltic Sea's strategic landscape has transformed with Sweden and Finland joining NATO, effectively turning it into an alliance-dominated waters. However, effective regional control would require unprecedented coordination among member states. The Russian-speaking population factor cannot be ignored. Recent presidential elections saw over 70% of voters in Latvia supporting the incumbent Russian leadership, a telling indicator of cultural alignment. Satellite imagery confirms active military equipment repositioning near Baltic borders, with particular attention to Iskander missile systems in Luga and Kaliningrad Oblast, capable of covering the entire region. Russia's industrial capacity remains robust despite Western predictions. Modern weapons production continues steadily, adapting to new realities. The military-industrial complex has shown remarkable resilience, maintaining output levels while developing new capabilities. These developments suggest a complex chess game where military capability meets geopolitical strategy. The question isn't if tensions will escalate, but how and when strategic positions might shift. What do you think about the current situation in the Baltics? Leave your answer in the comments. In today's analysis, we're examining Russia's significant military buildup in the Baltic region, and the picture emerging is deeply concerning. Let me break down why this deserves our closest attention. Just 100 kilometers from Estonia's Narva, a military unit of over 4,000 personnel has been deployed near St. Petersburg. Satellite imagery reveals a remarkable transformation. Where there was nothing in 2022, now stands a training ground with a tent city capable of housing 2,000 military personnel. Between Moscow and St. Petersburg, at the Katilovo airfield, substantial Air Force infrastructure has been developed, complete with modern ammunition storage facilities. But it's Kaliningrad that demands special focus. This region hosts bomber aerodromes, naval ports, missile systems, and nuclear facilities. Even after transferring 70% of equipment to the current conflict zone, its naval and missile capabilities remain virtually intact. The Baltic Fleet's base in Parusnaya has been modernized, and a new radar container system, nicknamed the Kaliningrad Monster, boasts a 1,200-kilometer range, capable of monitoring all of Europe. The fleet has been strengthened with 9 missile ships of the Bayan M and Karakurt class, with 2 more arriving this year. The nuclear weapons storage facility in Kulikovo has also seen significant upgrades. Russia's military budget for 2024 will reach 12.2 trillion rubles, 115 billion euros, with a projected 25% increase in 2025. Notably, 85% of these expenditures are classified. For perspective, Baltic states' armies range from 4,000 to 20,000 personnel, drastically smaller than Russian forces. Yet Moscow continues to portray these countries as threats. Will Russia implement a worst-case scenario? While experts call an attack on the Baltics madness, remember, few believed the current conflict with the former Soviet Republic would occur either. What do you think about Russia's military buildup in the Baltic region? Leave your point of view in the comments.